Well, good evening. I think just about time to start. Randy was telling me the clock back there is a minute fast, so we're just about there. But good to see everybody here this evening, and thanks for all the calls and cards and stuff when I was out. I had that gallbladder surgery, so I think I'm in good shape now. So hope so anyway. But glad to see everybody. We're going to be studying tonight in Proverbs 20. Chapter 20 in Proverbs. Got a lot of cool stuff in there to learn and all, so you could be looking at that. Let's bow and we'll start our class with a word of prayer. Father, thanks so much for this day and for being with us all, keeping us safe and having us the ability to be here this evening to study your word in Proverbs. And please help us to learn, Father, and learn from each other. Thank you for loving and blessing us all and blessing this church family and all your children everywhere. In Jesus' name, amen. Alrighty. Well, Proverbs 20, it could be titled Wise Decisions and Honest Living. Adam wrote that down for me, but I was looking that up, and that's what I saw. When you asked Mr. Google things, and that came up there too. So I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So every one of us wants to believe we're wise. We're on the self-control. That's part of our thing, right? I mean, nobody here wants to be anything other than that. That's about it, I'm sure. I never saw anybody that wanted to be considered the foolish in any of the Proverbs things. There's lots and lots of examples here of foolish ones in Proverbs as well. But nobody wants that. So I'm going to read verse 1, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit. Wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. So when I was studying a lot of things too, intoxication impairs judgment and opens people up to doing really, really foolish stuff, and making foolish choices and having unruly behavior. And I imagine most of us have seen people like that at some point in time. And it's really, it'd be really embarrassing even to be around somebody that's having that issue. And wise living, like we all are desire, require a clear mind and self-control and sober discernment. So who doesn't want that, Who wouldn't want that? And you can't have that and be intoxicated too. The two are not going to work together, It's like vinegar and oil. They're not going to mix very good. Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? I don't do lectureships. I do comment classes. So if you got a comment, speak up, raise your hand, whatever. Okay? All righty, I'm going to read the next couple of verses, so we have comments on that. Verse 2 in chapter 20. The wrath of a king is like the roaring of a lion. Whoever provokes him to anger sins against his own life. It's honorable for a man to stop striving, since any fool can start a quarrel. Okay, so is it honorable for a person to stop striving? Striving to be a better person, striving to have stronger integrity, striving to be a better Christian person? Is that honorable? I would say so. It takes strength and maturity to de-escalate arguments or disagreements. And I've seen that in churches. In the church, people get pretty worked up about things sometimes. Most of the time it's petty little things. It's not some salvation issue. But people can get really worked up sometimes. And that's really, really sad. But most of the time it's not real maturity that's doing that. It's immaturity. But to forgive offenses, doesn't that take quite a bit of maturity as well? If somebody did something to you or said something to you made, really hurt your feelings, it's not too easy to forgive them sometimes. You don't have to worry about that with me because I don't have feelings. I was in the retail business too many years. You get more complaints and gripes about everything, and you just kind of blow it all off. Huh?
It is feelings that separate church.
Oh, sure. I'm sure.
Everybody got their feelings hurt. Yeah. They did kind of pursue the correct procedure and try to correct it. Just go to the person and ask them, what did you mean by saying what was mentioned or something? They just want to do this.
Yeah.
Escalate and all of that.
True.
Let church.
But good, mature Christians you wouldn't think would be having an issue like that. But I've seen some really bad issues over a little bit of nothing. When I was growing up, like the Lord's table was covered with a white cloth. And the men waiting on the table, I'd take that cloth off, fold it all up real nice, set it on the side. We'd have the Lord's Supper, and then we'd open that cloth back up and cover them all back over. Well, there's a little church on the south side of Memphis, Tennessee, that got so upset about a group that was there that really didn't think that was right to cover the Lord's Supper. The whole church just disbanded. And there was nothing left there but just a little shell of a building. I mean, it wasn't a very big church, but things like that can happen over stuff that's not a salvation issue. Yeah, it's petty stuff. So anyway, we got to be mature and strong in ourselves and be confident in ourselves that we can handle things that might come up. Okay, what's your wise person's best action if a quarrel should come up? What's a wise person's best action if you have a quarrel? Something comes up and you got some members quarreling over things.
In verse 3 it says, honor for men to cease from strife. To me that's like, it's not that you're quarreling or whatever, but you got to listen to it, right? You got to understand both sides. But if you're not listening, the rest of it says, but for every fool, you're continuing just to turn the pop.
Yeah.
You've got to, it's one thing to stay complete, it's another thing to turn the pop.
Jerry said, you got to listen to both sides. You got to listen. Well, I don't really want to listen to that person if I'm hacked off at them. I want to talk to them. I want to get them to go my way. And that's an issue. But if you're a mature Christian, you got to tone that down, and stop talking. That's the biggest problem most of us have when we get into some kind of quarrel. Hopefully we don't ever have anything like that around here, but believe me, it does happen. Nancy and I were members of a church in Missouri there that they traded out the pews and put chairs in. There were quite a few members that got so upset about that, they just left. I mean, it just happens. It really does. It's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. Okay, so you wouldn't want to take matters in your own hands, would you, if you had a little quarrel going on? Say, Dean and Colby were all upset with each other there. I wouldn't want to go in there and try to just take over. You got to have love, and you got to try to work with each other, and hear each other's side, just like Jerry was talking about. And who should you be waiting patiently on anyway? Only one. Waiting patiently on the Lord to guide us. Any other comments there? Okay, I'm going to read verse 4 through 7. Verse 4. The lazy man will not plow because of winter. He will beg during harvest and have nothing. Counsel in the heart of a man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Most men will proclaim each his own goodness, but who can find a faithful man? The righteous man walks in his integrity. His children, are blessed after him. What does integrity mean to you? What do you think of when you think of integrity? Doing the right thing?
I think of character or what you're willing to stand up for.
Okay. Character, what you're willing to stand up for. And honesty, integrity and honesty, they go together. Let me ask you a little question here. Say you go to one of these restaurants and you order iced tea. It's like $4 iced tea. Well, when you get your ticket and you're looking at it there, they didn't charge you for it. So what should you do there? You say, oh man, this is all right. Saving $4 here. You got the tea and you drank it. What would you do? What's the right thing for you to do? Call your waitress over and say, hey, I ordered tea, but you didn't charge me for it. Then you go home feeling good about yourself. You don't feel like, hey, I didn't mess anybody over. What do you think? I'm getting some real hard looks about that. Stuff like that happens too. It's happened to all of us, Okay. Next I'm going to read verse 8 through 14. All right, verse 8. A king who sits on the throne of judgment scatters all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I've made my heart clean, I am pure from my sin? Diverse weights and diverse measures, they're both alike are an abomination to the Lord. Even a child is known by his deeds, whether what he does is pure and right. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both. Do not love sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes, and you will be satisfied with bread. It is good for nothing, cries the buyer, but when he's gone his way, then he boasts. And verse 9, I'll go back to that for a second. Who can say, I've made my heart clean and I'm pure from my sin? Who can say that? Anybody? Sorry, I can't hear you. What? Okay. Anybody got any other thoughts on that? Who could say that? I made my heart clean. Yeah? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Verse 10, diverse weights and diverse measures, they're both alike, are an abomination to the Lord. So, pure dishonesty is what this is, and who sees all and will hold all of us accountable? Only God. God sees all that. If you have dishonest scales and stuff, you can get away with a lot of things in this world, but you might not get away, or most likely will not get away with that when you come to judgment. So God will hold us accountable. In verse 14, I thought this was a little humorous. It's good for nothing, cries the buyer, but when he's gone his way, he boasts. So, say you're buying a used car, from somebody here, and you're saying, well, it's just an old car. Hey, it's probably got all kinds of problems and, all this stuff. And, then, you got to sell it to me for $5,000. I'm not going to pay $8,000, because it's got these problems and all. And you don't know if it's got these problems or not. You're just trying to talk the price down. Well, How right is that? Well, that's a lot different than saying, well, Dean, this is a really great car. I mean, you got a great price on this. You know, you might ought to be charging a little more for it. But you don't ever see that. But we all want to pay the lowest price we have to pay for pretty much anything we buy. But you got to be honest with it at the same time. We can't just say that there's things wrong that we don't know about. You know, there are ways to work around that or get it checked out and all that kind of stuff. But we have to be careful with what we're saying and make sure we're saying the truth, the absolute truth, and not something that's misleading or a lie. That's a good comment. Taking advantage of others if you're buying or selling, you know. That goes back to the dishonest scales in the earlier verses we were reading. You know, wouldn't you think? I would think so. If you're selling, you want to get all you can for it. And if you're buying, you want to pay the least amount you can get away with for it. And it's really like the dishonest scales. But you got to be honest. And that, you have to think about it a little bit. You don't want to totally deceive somebody or tell a tall tale or anything just to save money or to make more money on an item. Anybody got any comments on that? Everybody's been through it. If you ever bought a car, home, anything else, you know, you got to try to do what's right always. And then you can always sleep at night. You don't have any worries. Okay. Is it easy to negotiate anything without being false? Something to think about. Okay, I'm going to read verse 15 through 19. Verse 15. There is gold and a multitude of rubies, but the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel. Take a garment of one who is surety for a stranger and hold it as a pledge when it's for a seductress. Bread gained by deceit is sweet to man, but afterward his mouth will be filled with gravel. Plans are established by counsel, by wise counsel wage war. He who goes about as a talebearer reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with one who flatters with his lips. So, knowledge is more precious here than gold and all. So how can that be? Why would you think knowledge is more precious than gold?
Nobody can take it from him.
Huh?
Nobody can take it from him.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody can take it from you. That's right. It's a good point. Very good point. All right.
It's almost like the old saying, you know, feed a mouth for a day, fish. But if you teach him how to fish, he's taking the life out of the farm.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, you know, gold and silver is something that you can handle, but knowledge of how to use it, how to get it, probably more precious.
Yeah. Very good point, Dean.
Gold and silver is not everything you need, but it's taking the knowledge of knowing how to fish and to feed for life.
Yes. It's a good point. Okay, so bread gained by deceit. Dishonest gain never really works out. but in the end, it'll come back and bite you. Um, Making a plan, a business plan, or any other kind of plan for your life, and basing it on a lie or, some illusion or something, that's not ever going to work out for you. That's not going to be a good move for you. Yeah, excuse me. Everything got to be based on truth, not on lies and falsehoods. So who doesn't like to be flattered?
We see that a lot of times where, thinking of what's his name, Barney Madoff, right? He had that big pyramid scheme that built billions of people, billions of dollars out of people. He was living a high life there. He and his sons, from what they say, his sons and wife didn't know what was going on. He was just rolling money, keeping the next group of investors happy, right?
Yeah.
And it was all good, well and good. But in the end, what it says there, it said, but afterwards his mouth should be filled with grout. I mean, he's done, right? So it's going to come out, whether it's in this life, his reward, or this case, it's going to come out in the end. So
Yes.
it's one of those things where you do it right the first time, you don't have to worry about it.
That's right. Do it right the first time, and then, pardon me. And then, like we said earlier, you sleep good at night. But who doesn't like to be flattered? Is it uncomfortable to you? Adam, somebody come up and just layer on all the flatters, how nice looking you are and smart you are and all this stuff. You got to wonder, well, why are they doing that? That would be my first thing. Why is somebody doing that, But being flattered, people trying to sway your thought or make you feel like you're something you may not be by flattering you or getting you to go their way. If they want to do a program or whatever they want to do, but they flatter you to try to get you on their side, that's kind of tough. But is there a good time that you would like to be flattered? Hard to say. I don't know what everybody thinks. Nobody's saying anything about that. That's a little far out.
We always like to be flattered by anyone and anyone.
Yeah.
Don't you think, but it also says that man's eyes can be satisfied with his ear.
Hey.
And be careful about that. The last week we talk about it here, listen to something like that.
Yeah.
Adam was talking about flattery versus, you just got to be careful about that.
Hey.
Hey, look, you're doing great.
Huh?
You're doing great.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah. We should have seen Adam smiling, though, when I told him somebody talked to him about being good looking. Right? Okay, what?
Flattery with the lips, if it's just lip service, but if somebody says they'll do something for you, they mean it, there's something behind the words. I think it's okay to, that positive flattery over things that somebody's willing to do. So I think it's not just about how they move their mouth and
Yeah.
corresponds.
If you compare that to verse 15 about talking about the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel, right? So that's good wisdom and good knowledge. You hear that, and you contrast it down there versus flattering lips that are sincere.
Oh, yeah. If you've been around a while, you can sure tell, if it's genuine or not. I've been in meetings before years ago when I was working, and somebody be flattering the boss, because the boss would be holding a meeting and they'd be talking about how good he was doing. But then after he left, they'd talk about, no, he's a dope, and all that stuff, And they didn't mean any of that stuff. They're just trying to make themselves, do a little better or seem a little better to the boss.
So, Mr. Elwood, I also want to point out the New King James the King James translation says in 19, avoid anyone who talks too much.
Yeah.
It kind of brings a whole new side to it.
Yeah, that's true. But don't take that too serious on me, because I talk too much most of the time. I don't know why, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to learn to be a better listener, and that's one of the things I really need. Yes?
One thing, so it says this person reveals secrets.
Yeah.
So, if you tell this person all of your business, the next person you go to, you're going to be the talk of the conversation. And so, sometimes somebody telling you their personal business, something they don't want to be shared with everybody, and this person reveals secrets, it may be a way you can find out. They're telling you, hey, that's what somebody told me, or hey, this about such and such, and you hear it, it's like, man, that's something I don't think that person wanted me to know, and you're telling me, so.
That's true.
Yeah, and maybe I should reserve my business to this person. I'm going to be the next conversation that person is talking about.
Yeah, that's a real good point. That's true. And there's always somebody that just loves to spread some kind of news that might be, a little shady about you or something like that, And that's just too bad, but that's something we all need to stay away from. Good points, good points. Okay, I'm going to read verses 20 through 26. Okay, verse 20. Whoever curses his father or his mother, his lamp will be put out in deep darkness. An inheritance gained hastily at the beginning will not be blessed at the end. Do not say, I'll recompense evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will save you. Diverse weights are an abomination to the Lord, and dishonest scales are not good. A man's steps are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? It is a snare for a man to devote rashly something as holy, and afterward to reconsider his vows. A wise king sifts out the wicked and brings the threshing wheel over them. A righteous walk leaves a blessing for future generations. Is this just about leaving money to generations that follow you and your family? What else would it be? What do you think you want to leave your family, when you leave this world? You want to leave them a big pile of money? You want to leave them a life that you had of integrity, that you taught them, and good work ethics and things like that? What's the most important?
The legacy of knowledge in Christ.
Yes, that's right. A good Christian legacy, I would think, would be the best thing.
Come into your state quickly, it's gonna fall. It can fall just as quickly. So to me, it's like understand that to get this state or this inheritance, take work. And the explanation of that work to children or whatever is the real value versus the monetary piece.
Okay. Yeah, inheritance doesn't necessarily mean money, you know. There's many things, you know, other things of monetary value, like you say, but many things like, you know, Christian home, things that are so much more important. And as you get older, you see that more and more and more. I'm afraid Nancy and I never had any big monetary inheritance, so I can't say from experience, but we've certainly been so blessed, and we want to pass all that on to our children. You know, they want a Christian home and all. Yes. Right. That's a great example. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a great example. Great example. Any of us could remember things from our grandparents, you know. I believe we still are receiving blessings from the prayers of our grandparents for us when we were young. But that was probably, I wish I'd thought of that. That's a really good example of Timothy there. I hope everybody could hear that from your mother and your grandmother. That just coming up and being raised in a Christian home is some kind of really great blessing. We've had so many people, I'm sure plenty here in this room tonight, that may not have had the privilege of being raised in a Christian home. But it's a wonderful thing, and it's a wonderful thing to leave your family. So your family and your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren know that they just know. They were raised in a Christian home. This is a Christian atmosphere.
It may not be monetary, but it's what we leave behind. You know, what we taught our family, the example we set. That's what we leave.
That's much more important than leaving a big pile of money. Huh?
And hopefully they can take that and use it within their life, for their life.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah, you want your children to have a Christian home for their children, and on down the line. So. Okay. On this one verse about, in verse 20, I've never heard anybody curse their parents. I'm sure that's happened, but I've never heard of that. I can't imagine that really, you know. Even if your parents were bad people, you know, cursing them and all would be something I could just hard to imagine. Always wait on the Lord. Always wait on the Lord, and that's pointed out here. Let's see, in verse 24. In verse 24, man's steps are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? A man's steps are from the Lord. How can a man understand his own way? You believe your steps are from the Lord? You believe the Lord direct your life? Always? Always. The only one that can walk away from it is you. He's not going to turn his back on you. But you can turn your back on the Lord. But he's not going to turn his back on you. So. Okay, I'm going to read verse 27 through the end of the chapter then, through verse 30. Verse 27, the spirit of a man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all the inner depths of his heart. Mercy and truth preserve the king, and by loving kindness he upholds his throne. The glory of young men is their strength, and the splendor of old men is their gray head. Blows that hurt cleanse away evil as do stripes the inner depths of the heart. In verse 27, God uses our conscience and inner being to reveal truth and expose hidden motives. To me, that emphasizes even more the importance of truth in all transactions. You know, we must have truth. The Lord knows the truth always. And we're the ones that can get away from it sometimes. So the Lord is going to direct our steps and be with us, as long as we're not trying to get away with something. But how important is truth in all transactions? It would have to be. Like a little earlier on, we talked about making plans and things based on lies, then it's not going to work out for you. But based on the truth, things will work out better, and you'll be able to sleep at night. How do blows that hurt cleanse evil?
To keep their body under subjection, discipline and any of those habits we're forming aren't going to be easy or fast to come by. But things that hurt, we can kind of realize it's coming from something that's working on us.
Okay, ready? Blows that hurt cleanse evil. Is that meaningful today in today's world? I remember growing up, my father never had like time out or go get in the corner. That wasn't part of his vocabulary. His bend over was the biggest part of his vocabulary. And I got into that a lot of times. But it made things better, and I learned like that, So how can we learn today? I mean, what are blows that hurt? Loss of a loved one? Lots of things, Great friends that could do something bad against you, make you like you're not their friend anymore. Those can be blows that hurt. Now, if that happened, how can that cleanse you? How can that make you better?
It's always good
comments? All right. Today's culture seems like it's kind of obsessed with like youth and beauty and all that. And obviously that could have been a problem back in Solomon's time and all too. But today it just seems like that's like the main thing, you know. And I wonder how some of that can relate to us today. And how would you compare that with a culture? I'm talking about the culture in the United States with a culture in other countries that have more respect and regard for older people. There are some that, you know, when families get older or the parents get older, it's just a natural thing. They live with their children. That's all been planned, and that's the way things have gone for generations. And I understand that China's that way, and maybe some other countries too. But our country is very different now. Youth and beauty and all that are really, that's all you see. You don't see ads on TV, you know, much of the people my age on there. You know, it's youth and beauty and all. Anybody got any thoughts on that? I thought it just seems like to me that we need to work with and speak to our elders more, older people I'm talking about, not elders of the church, older people, and not just falling over all the young ones all the time. Like we're doing, like if you look at TV ads on there, everything is somebody in their 20s or 30s, you know. You think I'm off base there? Or?
No, it is reminding us that we need to look to the wisdom and their accomplishments. It's using this poetic language of talking about their great head as, you know, referencing the elders of the society, but it's also connecting it to there's benefits throughout all areas of the society. With the young men, their glory is in their strength. That's where they are going to be used at this point, is in their strength, you know, their physical needs, their physical ways that they can help people. And then the elders of the society, it's their wisdom that we can look forward to. We can look at this not in terms of how it's just bashing young men, like their strength is the only thing that they look forward to, but it's how everyone can work in a society together and how we can look for the benefits, and not just that, but in the church as well. We have the young men who can handle a lot of things, but then we also need to look to the wisdom of our elders in the church.
Yeah, I felt a lot about saying that since I'm probably one of the oldest people here, but I know there's one or two more that might be a little older than me, but not many. So I felt a lot about that, but when you look at society in general and our culture today, outside the church is especially only tuned in to, you know, youth and beauty. But in the church, it seems better, you know, I believe that we could all do better in working with others. I could do better when working with more of the younger people, you know. And younger people, you know, I rarely have any of them ask me anything, but that's a good way to go. I mean, it really is. 'Cause I've been around the horn a lot more than most, and it's just you just learn. The older you get, the more you learn. You don't have the strength, though. You sure lose the strength. Young people have the strength. Young men have lots of strength, and I did do it one time. And you have to look at everything. You know, one time I was 20 and 30 and all that stuff. You know, and everybody here has been or is in that age group now. But it's a good thing to think about, you know, people that have experience that have been through things before that you may or may not have. Okay. I I think the biggest lesson here tonight is having integrity and honesty in all that we do. You know, and even here, if you're just having conversations with people, you know, don't be trying to flatter everybody with things when you don't mean it. If you mean it, great. If you don't say it. Because I think that can come back and bite you someday. If you're saying things that are really not so, you know. Anybody have any other comments about that? Our time's already passed, so I see the kids running around outside.
So, when time passed by, if you keep this to yourself, you will appreciate it. You never need to get those things out.
Okay.
And you realize words can hurt people and things like that. So, when it comes to our heart, what we appreciate, things like that, blessings from God, we have to learn to use those things for our
Okay.
self-control. God doesn't want us to get out of control, become some power freak, somebody that thinks that they know it all. Then you're going to get just talking too much and saying all of that stuff. Making bad decisions. You're just going to go to an evil forward. So, wisdom will say, get some control of yourself as a body.
All righty. Okay. Well, that's it. That's all we got tonight. Time's up. Thanks for the comments. Everybody have a great rest of the week.